Excellent job, team. Welcome to Path to the Pros. You know, Jay, Aaron, and I were talking off camera before we started here, and one of the very first questions we always get, I was sharing with Jay, by parents and young athletes is, what does it take to get to the pros? What does it take to get to MLB? What does it take to get to the Olympics? And as Jay said, articulated, there is no straight line. Every athlete has a different journey, and that's why today we want to welcome you to Path to the Pros, brought to you by Blueprint to Bluechip, where we build the human being underneath the athlete. I'm Thomas Rowe, sports performance coach and co-founder of Blueprint to Bluechip. And with me, as always, is my co-founder and CEO, Aaron Sarles, 25 years of Fortune 500 executive coaching, and most importantly, a sports mom, and the woman who built Blueprint. Tonight's story starts in Greenville, South Carolina. Jay played college baseball at Furman University and was drafted by the Chicago Cubs in the 9th round of the 2008 MLB draft. He spent 7 years grinding through the minor leagues across 4 organizations before making his MLB debut with my Padres on September 14th, 2015. He went to Japan, won a championship with the Hiroshima Toyo Carp, and posted a 1.7 ERA in 67 appearances. He came back to the States, pitched for the Brewers, the Giants, Braves, the Blue Jays, and the Twins across 6 MLB organizations. In 2023, pitching his best baseball for the Blue Jays, his youngest son was born premature and spent 166 days in the NICU before coming home. And today he's a pitching coach for the West Virginia Black Bears and founder of Smile, and I can't wait. That's an acronym, and I can't wait to get into it. The mindset and performance coaching platform, and the author of 9 Innings to Living Your Best Life, a man who has lived every chapter of this journey and turned every single one of them into a message. Jay Jackson, welcome to Path to the Pros. Thanks so much for taking time out of your day to join us.
Oh, thanks, Thomas. Thanks, Aaron. No, this is fantastic. What a great intro. I appreciate it so much. So.
Of course. We call it like we see it. Jay, Greenville, South Carolina, take us back. Where did baseball begin for you, and when did you know this was going to be part of your life?
Well, my parents like to tell me that in my crib, I always had a basketball goal and a basketball, a football, and a baseball bat and a baseball. So I was always around sports, right? But playing baseball kind of started at the age of 4. I started playing t-ball. I was kind of following the guy who's like my older brother. He played baseball, basketball, football, and I just tried to play as many sports as I could, as much as I could, because I mean, at the time we were always outside, right? So everybody was always doing something. But I fell in love with baseball, fell in love with basketball. Football was there, but as I got older, my dad kind of made me make a choice between the sports I was good at, and baseball kind of overtook that with basketball in high school. So, but Greenville started everything. It goes back to Northwood Little League. Honestly, I was just talking to my dad and talking to some friends earlier about that, where just playing in the state championship, winning state championships in Little League, going to the Little League World Series semifinals in Florida, you know, just back in the day doing those things, just the enjoyment that I had for baseball, just being outside with my friends all the time playing. That's, I think, where it started. And then it just grew into, I guess, an obsession, really, right? It becomes a love, and it becomes the thing you really want to do. My parents tell me that they remember in kindergarten, even when I told my teacher, when they asked us what we wanted to be, I said I wanted to be a baseball or a basketball player, like professionally. So
I love
it started early, and I followed through. So it's been a blessing to the full extent. In Greenville, what can I say? Just growing up there, I mean, I ended up getting drafted from there. I'm a homegrown talent from there. I try to go back whenever I can to do things. I'm actually having a fall baseball clinic this September in Greenville and at Wade Hampton Little League. So just trying to go back, give back my time when I can, help the younger generation be better. But, you know, Northwood to Christchurch to Furman, just blessed to have those schools and community around me my whole life. They've been so wonderful for me and to me, and getting inducted into the Greenville Baseball Hall of Fame not too long ago too. So it's definitely a love thing for me in the city to the fullest extent.
I love it. Build on that from Furman University, a smaller D1 program. What did those years build for you and in you?
it taught me a lot. It showed that no matter where you play at, you can get seen. I think it's a little harder now with how they're shortening kind of the baseball draft and a lot of the sports and how they're making it so specific for each organization to try to get guys through the system as fast as they can. So it's a different game now to a certain extent, but going there just showed me how tough it is to do a lot of things because it was such a small school and a liberal arts school, and it's known for its academics more than its athletics. Trying to, juggle school and sports at the same time there. And I was just blessed enough to have the coach that I did. The coaches, really, I still talk to a few of them now, but just having them in my life, just going there, just built me to be able to withstand a lot of things and push forward towards my goals. I remember there's a lot of nights at Furman where, a lot of my other teammates and friends would be out at parties and stuff. And I either one didn't get invited because they knew I was probably going to say no because I was going to go do something with baseball or hang out with, whoever I was hanging out with from Greenville, honestly, since it was my hometown. Or two, I got invited and I would go home early and, go back, depending on how I felt. I would go hit off a tee, or I would go sit in the bleachers and ponder, depending on, what state of mind I was in. I would want to think about things and visualize, and, maybe we had a bad game or something like that, and just, relax and try to find out like how I could be better a lot of times. So Furman just taught me a lot of discipline, a lot of self-reliance to a certain degree. I mean, I guess that's what all college programs, right? They cater to you to a certain degree, to a certain extent, but at the same time, if you want to be great or if you want to be better than the rest, you have to find a way to do things extra on your own to a certain degree too. So it showed me like I could be the same as everybody else, or I could, do something different and see what I could get the most of, especially when they told me I was a prospect too. So it's like, okay, I have to take it a little bit more serious now too. So
I love that. So I'm guessing, based on what you told your teacher, if you didn't have baseball, it would have been basketball.
I try to say I give myself a little credit, but I try to say I was probably a little too small.
Okay.
But at the same point, I had a coach of mine, a couple of my old coaches actually, but one of the coaches that I had coaches in college now, and he told me that if I really would have stuck with basketball, I probably would have been professional in basketball too. So I guess it probably would have been one or the other. I'm hoping it would have been, but you never know. It was all a dream then. It's still unbelievable to me now at this point. I'm so grateful that I was able to live the life that I lived, and it's still kind of, I don't really think about it as much as I probably should, but it's still a dream that I was able to do as much as I was now.
No doubt, no doubt. The reason why I ask is, Jay, it was so funny. We had a Super Bowl champion on our show, and he's like, I'm going to tell you something I've never shared with anybody else. We're like, oh my God, what's this? He's like, I actually went to North Carolina to play football, but my first passion was always basketball. I said, even over football. And he goes, even to today, I still do pick up basketball. You can't do pick up football, when you're in your 30s and 40s. So I was like, wow, you got a Super Bowl ring and your first passion is basketball. It almost feels like you're cheating on the football gods. That's so, but everyone has.
That's kind of how it was, though. My dad was great at basketball. Well, he played a lot of sports, but he was better at basketball. He kind of took the reins off me, coaching me wise, in baseball early enough at like 12 and 13. But basketball, he had chances to play professionally a couple of places, but he turned them down to be a father and be around me and kind of help me live my dream, right? So I was trying to, make him proud, hopefully, in the long run. I think hopefully I have, so.
No doubt. It's crazy. Anytime the camera goes on an athlete in professional sports, they always say, hi, Mom. But we got to remember, Dad was there too, right? Dad was there.
100%. Mom and Dad. My mom, I get more of my baseball skills probably from my mom because she was a great softball player. And I went to the softball field and watched her play all the time when I was growing up.
Love it.
But, Dad, the work ethic, the discipline, him helping me get through these times and guide me in the right direction, picking kind of the coaches and mentors I had along the way to make sure he put me in the right positions too. It was a full family thing. I think it always takes a village, right? It doesn't just take one or two people. I think it takes a support system in the long run to make sure that we reach our goals, and we have to be able and willing to accept that help and support at the same point.
Right. So let's cut to 2008 MLB draft, 9th round, 281st pick by the Cubs. What did that draft day feel like for you, and what was going through your head at that time?
It was actually a really rough couple days. I actually didn't know I got drafted. I was actually projected at the time when I had talked to a lot of the scouts, a lot of the pre-draft workouts I went to. I heard I was probably going to go on the first day, and at the time, the first day was, I think the first 3 rounds were on TV, but then it went up to the first 5 rounds, I believe. And so I was projected to go in the first day. And then first round happened. I knew I kind of had a slim chance of going in the first round, but shout out, honestly, after the last couple of weeks, the draft just happened. And we had 3 kids from Greenville that got drafted in the first, I think, a first or second round. So
there you go.
They're doing great. But I knew I wasn't going probably first round, but I heard that I could go probably upwards of second or third round. So we were tuning in. I had a draft party, and I had a bunch of people there, family, friends, coaches, and heard nothing. Had a bunch of phone calls to my advisor at the time, but still didn't get picked. And so right after the first day of the draft, my phone completely blew up from like 12 to 13 teams saying that, since I'm still on the board, they're going to take me with the first pick of their draft in the next round, blah, blah, what's it going to take, et cetera, et cetera. And I heard from all of them. And then the next day happened, the first round of the next day, I think it was the 6th or 7th round, didn't get picked again. And so I literally turned the draft off, turned everything off. The night before, actually, I had to go tell everybody, thank you for coming. But, sorry to say that, didn't get drafted, all that stuff. But turned everything off, was in a kind of a dark room for a little bit, and then decided that I was going to go to Cape Cod and play for the summer. And then I got a text message from one of my friends, and they were like, "Oh, well, congratulations, you're a Cubby." And I was like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, you just got drafted in the 9th round, blah, blah." So I actually had to go check the computer and turn it on again, because I was actually supposed to be leaving very soon. I think it was either that day or the next day to go to Cape Cod to play if I didn't get drafted as high as I wanted to. So I was actually going to go do that.
I love it. So most athletes dream about making it. You were about to find out what the road between being drafted and making it to the big leagues actually looks like. What surprised you most about those early years?
I think it's a lot. I wouldn't say it's a lot different, but it's a little different now. They have a lot more stuff than we did back in the day. They have a lot more technology. They have, more, I wouldn't say freedom, but they have more. They're getting paid a lot more. First of all, we were getting paid absolutely nothing. So the grind was a little bit harder. We were all staying together. Everybody's, crammed into apartments, but it showed me just, who really wants it and who doesn't to a certain extent.
Right.
But it shows you, just how much you're willing to do to reach a dream. Sure. Ultimately, I think that's what it really showed me, is that journey and that trek. And I was honestly, truly blessed and lucky a lot along the way with, teams believing in me, trying to be the best person I could be, just trusting, myself overall throughout the process, and trusting what I was doing was the right thing. And hopefully that, the right thing led to the right path and all those things. Right. So I think it showed me just, you have to believe in what you're doing.
Right. No doubt. Aaron, why don't you jump in?
Yeah, I want to piggyback kind of on what you talked about with your parents, because we get a lot of parents and questions like, what did your parents' support actually look like? And how did that really shape you? Because it's hard for the family too, because they watched you not get drafted, move through the minor leagues. What's that support like from your parents?
It was the thing that kept me going a lot of times, because there's times I really wanted to probably give up and quit. And there's a couple stories, but they literally both were just like, okay, are you quitting or want to quit because of you don't love the game, or because it's outside influences? And so every time it was like, okay, if it's not an outside influence and it's because you love the game, we're going to be here. We're going to support you as long as it's something that you love to do, and that you're doing it in the right way, that you're doing it, in the way that we've taught you and that you've grown up in, that we support you in, and that you're not, cutting corners and doing extra stuff and doing wrong things to try to reach to that position. We're going to support you. And they always have. My mom literally would always tell me, hey, if you're upset, go take a nap. And if it still bothers you when you wake up, then, handle it how you decide to then. But if it's going to take your joy away, don't let it, and just go kind of rest and do those things. So they always supported me in the things that made me happy. I don't think if it would have been baseball, like you said, I think it would have been basketball. And if it wouldn't have been basketball, I think it would have been whatever else it could have and should have been at that time, right? I think in another alternate dimension or timeline, universe, that, the other Jays are doctors and lawyers or whatever else they might be too. But my parents have always been so supportive and loving that whatever I was doing, as long as it wasn't harming anybody else and it was supporting other people and trying to be the best version of myself, they always tried to do their best to support me in every way they could.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Jay. 7 years in the minor leagues before MLB debut. Walk us through what it was actually like in those first couple of years, because people have no idea what it's like to be in AA or AAA ball.
I went through every level. So when I first got drafted, I went to Arizona for like 2 weeks. But a lot of the college guys at that time, they wouldn't stay in the Arizona League. They would go to short season. But I don't know if they have the short season teams anymore, realistically, with all the cuts that they've made. But we would go to short season. So I went to Boise, Idaho, and I ended up spending 2 weeks in Boise, Idaho in short season, and left there, or 2 or 3 weeks, and left there my first year I got drafted, and went to Peoria, Illinois for the Peoria Chiefs, which was the Chicago Cubs low A team. So I was there for I think about a month and a half, and actually got sent after that and got bumped up again to high A, which was in Daytona Beach, Florida, all that same year. So this was all the year I got drafted. So I really went from Greenville, South Carolina, to Phoenix, Arizona, to Boise, Idaho, to Peoria, Illinois, back down to Daytona. And that's where I ended up finishing that year. So it was a lot of traveling, like I said earlier, a lot of grinding, early mornings, long bus rides, just trying to figure out pro ball all at the same point, right? So just living the dream and not getting paid a lot to do it, but meeting a lot of great people, learning a lot, and truly just enjoying the game of baseball. I think that was the main thing that you had to do throughout the process of the whole grand scheme of the minor leagues. For me, as I tell people, 95% of the athletes in every profession I know, especially in baseball, we're doing it because we enjoy the game, because it is so hard. But there's 5% that are just so naturally gifted that they do it even though they don't love it, right? But I think that 95%, you see that and you have to appreciate it. And it gets us through all the tough times that we had to go through, like all the traveling, all the time away from family, all the time away from friends, spouses, getting sent up and down all the time, and not knowing if you could be, let go or released each and every day, realistically. So that was my draft year. And then the next year I actually started the year in AA, which was in Tennessee. And I went to Tennessee, and it was just long bus rides again, like 8, 9, 10-hour bus rides, and then playing games and, spending time with your teammates and traveling the Southeast at that time. And then I got actually sent back down and demoted to high A, which was in Daytona Beach again. And I stayed there for a month. And then at the end of the year, and then I made my last start of the year in AAA, which was in Des Moines, Iowa. So I ended up making it all the way to AAA in my first full season in professional baseball. And then I spent the next few years just kind of grinding it out in AAA, which you hear a lot of things about the PCL all the time. They used to have more teams and different teams. There's a team in Colorado Springs. I think there's a team in Colorado Springs now still, but I don't know if it's not a AAA team, but it used to be a AAA team. And you had Albuquerque, and you have all these teams on the West Coast that is not very pitcher friendly. So I got stuck down there and lost confidence in myself for a little bit there too, and just kind of felt like I was waiting away. And then finally kind of found the joy of the game again. At a certain point, I just kind of asked, I was about to get married, and just, again, like minor league salary, trying to figure it out, trying to have a family on the salary. It's just like, okay, is it worth it? Do I quit? Do I stay? Do I go? and just, ask God. I was like, hey, if this is what I'm supposed to do, then show me give me a sign. And literally the next day, I got a call from a winter ball team that was going to pay me to, have my wedding and go to my wedding and then pay me throughout my wedding as well. So I was going to be able to afford everything and be able to live throughout the off season and have money stashed away for the season the next year as well, to kind of, get us through. So I was like, okay, I'm never going to take for granted the game again at this point. Right. So didn't take the game for granted and just try to enjoy every moment and just try to live it as best I could. And then that's when actually my career started taking off a little bit more. I ended up signing with a different team. I got with the Padres. I went from the Cubs actually, and then I had a couple years where I was with the Marlins for a year, and then I was with the Pirates and got traded to the Brewers in a year. And that was kind of like a down year. And that's when I was kind of losing confidence in myself and everything was kind of going on. And then after that, that's when I signed with the Padres and like I said, I went to winter ball and then signed with the Padres and just started enjoying the game again and ended up getting to the big leagues. And next thing I know, it's like almost 10 years later, I was still in the game and just ended up going to making the debut that year in 2008. That was a crazy year, to say the least. It was
for sure. Go ahead.
It was one of those years where like as athletes, we think that we're supposed to get called up a lot earlier. Things are supposed to happen on our time, right? And I had been pitching a lot better earlier in the year and didn't get called up until in September. And it was just, one of those things where grinding through it again, just enjoying the game, trying to figure it out.
I love it. Jay, I don't know. I don't know why it pulls on my heartstrings. It seems like what ESPN does a lot now is, you see that it's a setup for these guys. They call them into the skipper's office and they're just like, hey, Jay, listen, we just really want to thank you for, the time and the effort that you put in here. And the kid thinks he's getting cut. And they're like, yeah, you're not going to be here this week because we're sending you up. And then you could just look on his face like he can't process it, right? And then the kid starts breaking down, crying. And then, but you have another kid on there and he looks at the coach or the skipper and he goes, it's about time. It's like, it's just so funny how how young men respond to being called up. Well, what was it like for you? Walk us through that, because you just shared how you went through a lot of adversity. You went through a lot of perseverance and adaptability. So take us to the Padres in 2015, where you finally get called up. Were you like, it's about time? Or are you like, oh shit, I never thought this was going to happen?
Well, like I was just saying, I thought I should have been called up earlier in the year. And then when it didn't happen and I saw other guys getting called up, I didn't think I was going to get called up. And then at the time, it was like a September call-up thing where normally September 1st, they expand the rosters and all the guys that have been pitching well that might not be on the roster for the year get called up at that time. So I thought there was a chance that we were going to get called up, but our AAA team was in a playoff push at the time. So they ended up only calling up like one or two guys for the big league team for the first beginning of September and left everybody else down there to finish out the playoff push. And after we lost in the first round, I think there's some guys that had already flown home, but I had stayed an extra day in El Paso just to kind of get my stuff and just kind of reflect on the season and just enjoy just an off day before I had to go back to the house. Right. So I was actually just about to go back to the team hotel to go change to go to dinner. And I got a call from the assistant GM out of nowhere. And I was like, okay, like, why is he calling me? The season's over. Like, I didn't get called up. So I didn't think I was getting called up. I was like, well, I don't know why he's calling me. And I was actually on the phone at the time with my ex-wife. And I clicked over and I was like, hello. And he's like, oh, how long has it been since like that you've been in the minor leagues? I'm like, 8 years now. So yeah, 8 years it's been. He's like, oh, that's been a long time. He's like, well, how about you meet us in Arizona and congratulations, you're getting called up. And I was like, oh, well, I was like, I'm actually on a call right now. So let me get off that one so I can talk to you.
I love it.
So that's kind of how I got called up. But like a few of the other guys that got called up, like I said, they had already flown home. Like, cause right after the season, guys try to get out of there as fast as they can. So some guys were already back at home on, I think, like the East Coast or up in New York and places like that, because we didn't get called up like right after the game that we normally like you would have. It was normally either you got called up the 1st of September when your team lost the final game that night. Normally all the guys are getting calls like, okay, well, since season's over, you're getting called up here, blah, blah, blah. Like nobody got called up the night after the game. So everybody was just like, okay, we're going home.
I love it. I love it. Aaron, jump in. I know you're chomping at the bit.
Well, I mean, 7 years, like, what do you say to the athletes that are in year 2 or 3 that want to throw in the towel? Like, how did you persevere or kind of push through that? Like, what's your advice to them?
Just enjoy the journey, because what they're going through, especially depending on what level they're at, especially if you're in the minor leagues or the big leagues, there's only so many people and it's so rare to be there. But even in college and high school, to be doing what you're doing, there's only but so many people that can make those teams, because people are getting cut, people are going home. So enjoy each struggle that you have, enjoy the journey that you go through ultimately, because if you give up and then you regret it later, it doesn't do anything for you, rather than you just going through it, enjoying it because you love it, no matter what the outside sources might be doing, and just trying to do the best you can and being who you can be. Like all the guys that I had, a lot of the guys that I had signed last year off my pitching staffs, and some of them made the team and some of them didn't. I still keep in contact with a lot of them. And I tell them that all the time. I'm like, you're going to go through struggles right now, but like, if you didn't make the team necessarily that you wanted to make, or you didn't make the cut that you didn't want to make, like, how much do you love the game right now? I know it's tough, but do you want to give up at this point? Because like you have family obligations. I understand that. And like, if it's an absolutely necessary need that like you have to do that, but like, if you're just giving up just because like you didn't make this team, then like, what did you really love the game the way you thought you did, is what I like to ask those guys. Like normally that, or my main question is like, are you happy doing it? Because if you're truly happy playing baseball or football or whatever you're doing, you're going to take the bad days with the good days, because the good days are so much better than the bad days will ever be. Sure. That it doesn't really matter that you have to go through those bad days a lot of times. It's kind of like this is kind of like the transition period from an athlete to an entrepreneur or to whatever the next profession is. Like, you're not going to be good at it, but if you love what your next profession is going to be and what you're doing is useful and that you think that it's going to be something good, like, you can't just give up on it. It's going to be a lot of bad days, especially in that transition phase, because a lot of people don't want to come with you because you're not who you used to be.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. Jay, when you were growing up in Greenville, I don't think you had it on your baseball bingo card that you'd be going to Japan. So right after the Padres, you signed with the Padres, you're off to Japan, Hiroshima. What made you say yes to that opportunity, and what did you expect?
Well, it was kind of funny. I was actually in Mexico playing winter ball, because my first month I was only with the Padres really for a short time, so I didn't get like a true big league salary for the year. It was only prorated for that month, and then with California taxes at that point in time, I really lost a lot of that money in taxes at that point. So, with that being said, I was in Mexico playing down there, and my agent had called me and asked me if I still wanted the opportunity to go play because there were some teams interested. I had actually tried to go previously to go play before I got called up, because I had been in the minors so long that Japan seemed like an appealing thing to do. And I was going to get paid more to go over there. And I knew I could possibly, have a better career path over there. And they didn't want to look at guys at that time that had no big league time, really. It was more of you have to prove yourself in the big leagues to be able to come to Japan type of thing at that time, I felt like. So once I got some big league time, my agent got a call from a couple teams during that off season, and I was in Mexico, and we negotiated with them for me to go to Japan. And I told them I definitely wanted to go because it came out to be more lucrative, just for the simple fact that we had talked to the Padres, and people see it now, and they're talked about it with like the player options and stuff that guys have to go through, where you can be sent up and down a few times during the year. And with that, your salary changes, because the salaries aren't guaranteed necessarily. So with me going to Japan, my salary is going to be fully guaranteed. And I told the team that, like, hey, if you're going to use my options and my salary is not going to be guaranteed, then I'd rather go to Japan and make sure that my salary is guaranteed and I'm going to make more money over there and have a different experience and and ultimately I was going to be on a team and be more valuable to that team, which is why they were going to pay me, really. So that those were the more appealing things to me, to be valuable, be paid more, and to go experience something new. And, the team kind of objected a couple times, I think, to it. I think my agent was telling me how they had rejected the offers the first couple times, but finally they had agreed to it, which was, a good thing for me, because I went over there for, 3 great years with the Carp and won 3 Central League championships with those guys and had a fantastic time. I can't say enough about, the experience I had over there, but I definitely jumped on the opportunity to go over there and play. And like I said, be a valuable part of a team and have fun and go experience a new culture at that point. And plus I had been traveling a little bit since I had been in Venezuela and Mexico playing a little bit at that time. So I was like, going to Japan at this point it's just going to be a longer flight, but it's still, something that I could go experience and go do and, keep playing baseball ultimately at that point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, you made an impression. 1.71 ERA, 67 appearances. You won a championship with the Carp. Oh my God, what did winning a championship in Japan feel like, competing at that level on the other side of the world?
It was amazing. Like the atmosphere there was unbelievable, because every game was sold out. So
wow.
Even like Tuesday, Wednesday nights, there was 30,000-40,000 people at these games, no matter where and what cities we were in. You don't get to see that type of love really in baseball all the time, with, stadiums being sold out to the brim every day. Right. So, but winning a championship that year, how they do it in those stadiums is the home team literally sells out every game realistically. So you have like all the fans are normally in the home team's colors, but there's always one section for the away team where it's just like all the away fans. And so for our championship games, there's like 2 championship games for our away that we were going to win the championship away. And so I didn't realize it at the time, but after we won, we're supposed to go down to the field and bow to our fans. And our fans, we saw our big section, and it was literally like 3 sections. They had bought out like 3 sections. And so we waved at our fans and bowed to our fans. And I was just like amazed at how many people were there. It's just awesome. A big sea of red. It was awesome how they did it for us. It was unbelievable.
That's awesome. Aaron, jump in.
Okay, I'll jump in. What advice would you give to players that think that their only opportunity is in the United States? Like, because obviously Japan probably wasn't on your card when you first started, but it sounds like it became the right opportunity.
I tell people, and I tell my guys, all the guys that I've played with, played for, played that I've coached too, is if you want to continue playing baseball or playing a lot of these sports, right? There's so many different places that play sports. There's so many countries that do the same thing. It's just, are you willing to get outside of your comfort zone to a certain degree and go, again, enjoy the journey, enjoy the sport, and for the love of the sport, play somewhere compared to just feeling more comfortable at home. I have one of my good friends from Greenville, his sister actually never played in the WNBA, even though she was probably good enough to. She played in like every other country, like in Europe and Africa and all these other places, instead of just playing at home. And she's just enjoyed it. She's just like, she just was like, I've enjoyed it more than just staying at home. So you can always find somewhere to go play. Every country, I feel like, has those leagues. There's a bunch of baseball leagues now in Europe. I've actually just talked to a guy about being the pitching coach and helping a team and organization over in Prague, possibly. So, just there's places to play. If you want to play a sport and you love the sport and you want to enjoy it and you want to just live your life to do it, and you never know where those journeys can take you, any one of those places, if you play well enough and you do your job and you enjoy it and you dominate to a certain degree, you have a chance to get back to the major leagues or wherever else you really want to go, right? So there's always somebody playing sports. There's always a place that I feel like you can go play. It's just a matter of truly enjoying and loving the game.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute there. Jay, 2020 was one of the hardest years in recent memory for a lot of people for obvious reasons. You faced a very public and difficult moment in Japan that could have ended your career entirely. You've been pretty open about it. Can you walk us through what happened and where your head was?
Um, just just walking through the whole thing in Japan with, the whole getting arrested really thing was just kind of just crazy. It was just one of those things that kind of happened. It was bad timing, bad situations, and I just was blessed enough to come back and be able to, not start fresh, but just be able to come back and keep playing the game. I didn't feel like I was doing anything wrong at those times. And, I just tried to not throw it behind me, but use those experiences and use those moments as a stepping stool for me to show that going through adversities doesn't really mean the end of the road for a lot of people. I tried to make sure that my head was just trying to be focused on being the best person I can be and enjoying, like I said, enjoying the game, going forward, trying to do what I can to make sure that, my son looks up to me and the people around me look up to me to be the best person I can be, right? To make sure that it's like things that can hinder you can either be realistic. I tell people this all the time, either a roadblock or it can be a speed bump. You can either have speed bumps or you can let things total your car. Like I like to try to use the car analogy to life. Like you're always driving your own car and
Right.
things are going to happen. They can either be fixable or you can let them really devastate your life and devastate your whole like car. Really, you can have a speed bump and a flat tire and go get it fixed, or you can let that flat tire throw you completely off and crash into a roadblock and you completely total your car and then your world spins out of order. I try to think that, things like that, people go through things for reasons. I actually told my parents that I feel like going through that kind of situation because of how I'm not going to go as much into detail as I probably could have with it, because it was just like a situation that, being in another country, I was almost in solitary most of the time. So I told my parents I went through it because maybe somebody else couldn't have handled that situation too. Because I came out of it, and my dad asked me all the time. He literally asked me all the time. He's like, I don't understand how you came out of it with a smile on your face still and trying to be as positive as you were with everything and what they were saying to you and how they were treating you and all this stuff. And I was just like, maybe somebody else couldn't have went through it at that time. You know
That's
what I mean?
right.
Like maybe somebody else would have left and it could have turned their whole world upside down instead of using it as something that they can learn from and be from and go forward and make the best of a situation, turn a lemon into a lemonade situation type of thing. And I tried to do the best I could. And I hopefully, people learn from it and people, see that they can be the best person they can be no matter what happens to them in any situation, no matter where they're at.
No doubt. And you also really find out who your friends are, right? Who shows up
100%.
for you when things are, I mean, it's easy to hang out with Jay when everything's sunshines and rainbows, but when things go sideways, then you find out who your real friends are. You signed with the Cincinnati Reds organization just weeks later. What made you decide to keep going when most people in that situation would have just walked away?
Just the love of the game. Like
Yeah.
it was like, what else was I gonna do? I didn't want to give up on anything. I knew I could still play. I knew I could, it was just an unfortunate situation. I didn't want to let it. It granted, it was a little later in my career, so I don't know how some guys would have taken it. But like I said, for me, it was I'm going to keep going until I don't have fun in it anymore. I'm not going to let other outside influences dictate, my love of the game and what, is going to stop me. So I was lucky enough that my agent got, some interest and had talked to a few people. And I went to Cincinnati Reds alt site and was in Cincinnati. And that was amazing. Like, I'm glad they took a chance and I had a great time down there. It took me a few weeks to get back into form a little bit. But once I did, I felt great. And I had a good time, and it was a great thing. I was blessed.
No doubt. No doubt. Then you make a comeback and pitch for the Giants, Braves, Blue Jays, and Twins. What does that comeback say about resilience, about who you are to the core, and what you could build coming out of adversity?
I really haven't thought about it as much like that, but it just shows that whatever you manifest and whatever your dreams are, as long as you work towards them and keep discipline towards them, that, again, as long as you're doing things, I feel like the right way and trying to do them the right way or the best way you can, and it's not truly harming other people, it's not bothering other people, then a lot of good things normally happen. So I think the things that happened to me earlier in my life, my dad always told me that he felt like I was going to have a better second half of my career than first half of my career. I didn't think I was going to have even a first half of my career, really. I just thought the career was going to be, surprisingly, as long as it was, I thought it was going to be quick, really, with how many guys I saw that got drafted with me and were out of baseball in 2 to 3 years.
Sure.
17 years didn't fly by, but like I said, it's a dream that it came true. And it just, like I said, it was a blessing that I was able to, people still believed in me and gave me an opportunity. And it just shows, I think, that honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, it might have been resilience, but it might have been the same about taking advantage of opportunities, right? So you got an opportunity, even no matter how small it might be, you take advantage of it and you try to do the best you can with it. And then normally, if you do the best you can, good things happen. And when those good things happen, you just try to keep compounding those. And then you take like I said, you take the little speed bumps as speed bumps, but don't ever lose sight of the good things. And I think that's what we lose sight of a lot of times, is we focus so much on negatives that we end up compounding the negatives instead of compounding the positives.
Right.
And I think that my career, the second half, I started realizing not only to enjoy the game, but be where I'm at and be present and do the right things and just let those things compound and don't let the negatives overtake the good things that I'm trying to do all the time. Because I mean, you see it with a lot of celebrities, you see it with a lot of football players, baseball players, basketball players. We always focus on the negatives instead of trying to focus on their positives a lot of times. And then they focus on their negatives too. And then we wonder why their performances are normally bad. It's, we treat our stars really bad compared to most countries, right? I feel like we do. Because we always try to find something to knock the stars down with. And I feel like, the more we can compound these positives are going to lead to more positive things. And I think that was just the second half of my career, was just trying to be as positive as I can be and give that and surround myself with those positivities and positive vibes and spread that to as many people as possible. And I think that really translated to the second half of my career, not only after the incident, but even before with the championships. Maybe, I was trying to be as positive as I could. And then I got, maybe it was a humbling moment or whatever else, but then get back to being positive again. Right. And I'm being as positive as I can be and being the best person I can be. And that showed, I think, with the amount of championships and playoff games and playoff, teams that I was a part of the second half of my career. Cause you look at, the Giants, we were a playoff team in 2021 and I don't think they've been to the playoffs since. That was the last year they've won the NL West, really. So, you look at that, you look at, the next year I was with the Braves. The Braves won that year, made it to the playoffs. They won the East, I believe. And then, they've struggled a few years after that, but now they're back and they're playing better baseball. But, you look at that, you look at the Blue Jays. The guys actually thanked me a little bit last year because they were like, you were part of this core group of, guys that have gotten us to the World Series at that point in time, or that was playing good baseball at that time. And I was like, you know what, I was just trying to be the best player and best teammate I could be. But I think that showed with, the teams I've been on, with the wins that we've had and the successes that we've had, is I've just tried to be the best, most positive person I can be. And that spreads. And like I said, once you spread positivity, I think good things happen.
No question. Family first. We know that, we live it. 2023, you're pitching for the Blue Jays. You posted 2.12 ERA, 25 appearance, your best baseball. You're rocking it. And then your son is born premature. Take us through that season, because you're at a high professionally and you're now you're challenged with what's going on at home.
No, 100%. It was just, that year was unbelievable. It showed me how focused I could be in one area and then be who I needed to be outside, to compartmentalize a lot of these things that, life throws at you, and shows me how much I love the game too, but also how much I love my family, because not only, and how much support, honestly, that I do have on both sides of the family, not only my family, but Sam's family and everybody that's involved with that. Like, it just shows how much support that we have, because that whole season kind of thing was up and down. It was touch and go. We had actually had a couple miscarriages before that. So it was kind of like, okay, now we're in the clear kind of thing, but we weren't really in the clear because, about a month before JR was even born, we had actually been to the ER 2 or 3 times in different cities because Sam had actually had some bleeding, some very severe bleeding. And so we had to go to the ER a couple times in different cities. So we were just thankful that we got to the point that we did. And then when we got to that point, she was on bed rest for a week before, JR even popped out. And so I was actually in the process of getting called up.
Wow.
The night that JR actually came about. He was I was in Rochester, New York, and I didn't play that night, and it was a long game. We had a rain delay, plus we went extra innings, and I didn't pitch, and we ended up losing the game. So I was pissed off that I didn't pitch. And then, it's already like 11 o'clock at night, like 12 o'clock at night. And our coach is like, "Hey, Jay, just let you know, like you're going up tomorrow." And I'm like, "Bro, I've been pitching and I had been pitching like crap too." So I was like, I didn't even expect to get called up at this point in time either. But he's like, "You're getting called up tomorrow morning, blah, blah, blah. You have a flight, blah, blah, blah." So I'm like packing, getting everything ready, right? Getting all the stuff ready, told Sam that I'm going to be getting called up and all this stuff. And then next thing I know, like 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm getting a call from Sam's sister telling me that they're having to take JR now, like she's about to have the baby and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do?
Oh.
And the doctor literally told Sam's sister, "No, you go play tomorrow. There's nothing you can do right now. Like everything's fine here. We'll handle it. Go play, go get called up, like do what you need to do. And we'll see you after the game. Just go win, like go do your job." And I was like, okay. So I wish it could have been that simple. But I called and texted my trainer to tell him kind of what happened because he knew kind of the situation anyway. Me and him had been in communication, but not about like Sam actually going into labor, but that the fact that like it's been a terrible pregnancy kind of thing. And then I told him, and so he had to tell the front office and stuff. And so getting to the stadium the next day, the whole process is literally them calling me every 5 minutes to see if I'm getting on the plane, if I'm going to make it to the game, if I'm going to be there, if I'm going to be able to pitch and all this stuff. And I'm like, I already, like after the first time I told them that I was going to, but I mean, I respect them. And I mean, the Blue Jays organization is such a good organization because of how they took care of me and Sam and the whole family and everything too, that like, I was just like, I haven't slept because I've been getting called by you now though. Like I can't. And then lo and behold, we had a doubleheader, correct? So go to the doubleheader, and I was hoping I got to pitch in the first game because I saw there was actually some flights that left that night that I could get back to Utah because there was direct flights from Chicago to Salt Lake, and didn't pitch that night either. I mean, I didn't pitch the first game. So I was like, I'm not going to be able to, I don't think they put me even on the roster for the first game. So I think the first game was just a wash, and I was just like, oh my God, like I could have actually made it back to see the baby by now. But they actually ended up pitching me the second game. I actually ended up getting a win. So
Nice.
JR's birthday and his actual birth date, I got a win, my first win with the Toronto Blue Jays, I believe. So it was a Blue Jay win for the Jays. So it was good. So that was the day he was born. And then the next day I flew into Utah and got to see him and spend some time with him and the family and all that stuff. So, but it was surreal seeing him because of how small and how, just everything was. He was so tiny. I think when he was born, he was 1 pound, I think 9 ounces or something like that. So he might know. I think he was 1 pound 6 ounces. One of those, 6 or 9, one of those. So he was 1 pound 6 or 9. And just seeing Sam after the whole thing, her first thing was telling me that she was sorry because she didn't carry JR to full term. And I'm like, I'm just honestly, my only thing was just being that they were both safe at that point in time. So that's all I cared about. And then from there, just that year just became just a lot of traveling. Every off day I had, I literally would fly back to Utah, no matter what state or what city we were in. I would try to fly back to Utah and spend the off day with JR and Sam. And then the day of the the game after the off day, I would fly the morning of to wherever we were at. Normally it would be Toronto, so the customs people got to know me pretty well. But I would either fly to Toronto or I'll fly to Buffalo, and then I would drive across to Toronto. So it was just a lot of traveling after that. Just they worked with our schedule really with the team, helping me being able to fly and get me cars to the airport and scheduling, transportation here and there and helping me get everything squared away. So like I said, I'm so grateful and indebted to the whole Blue Jays organization. I can't even say it. They're such great people and they're running such a great team that, I think they should have won the World Series last year, but, little mistakes here and there. I think we've talked about it before. It shows you, who's been there before and who hasn't, when, you don't let the little mistakes take away from the ultimate goal. And, they made a couple mistakes last year that didn't help them win the World Series, but now they have that experience. So hopefully they get there and get their World Series in the next couple of years.
No doubt. So JR and Sam put a big smile on your face, but that's not what Smile Zone stands for. Walk us through it. What does Smile stand for, and what do young athletes and young leaders can find out about Smile Zone?
Yeah, so Smile Zone is the baseball mentorship app that I have started and created. It's a program. It's a community that we're trying to build, that I'm trying to build, of positive, supportive people, players and parents and coaches that just all want to join in and, like I said, make players better, ultimately make the next generation better people off the field so they can be better players on the field. And SMILE stands for Start Making Intentional Life Effort. So that's kind of what it's based off of. It's actually based off of the book that I wrote. And I think Aaron's got a copy, and Thomas, I think you've got a copy as well. That's called 9 Innings to Living Your Best Life. Achieve Success When You Smile. And SMILE, like I said, stands for Start Making Intentional Life Efforts. And so for me, that's what the whole Smile Zone and community is about, is making sure we develop greater and better people so they can be better on the field and then reach their goals, no matter what it's going to be, because 90% of the kids realistically won't make it to the big leagues, but that doesn't mean that they can't be great at whatever they decide to do. But don't stop playing the sport. Keep loving the game and enjoying it as long as you can. Then take the life lessons that we give you, not only in the Smile Zone through the app, but take them and have that foundation to do whatever you do in the next realm. So like I said, this is my transition, and Smile Zone is, like I said, it's technically an app and curriculum based off of the book, and it's a year-long program. There's 4 phases, and it's a community that you can ultimately, like I said, we have 2 calls a month as well, one for parents and one for players, and you get to talk to all our coaches. Our coaches are all former major league players, and you also get to have them as mentors if you want to pay for the membership and the mentorship that they'll give you, and you get to choose who you have as your mentor. Like I said, we have 5 other coaches other than myself. All of them have had more than enough time in the major leagues, definitely a lot of time in professional baseball. All the guys that we have had at least 10 years in professional baseball, maybe not 10 at the major league level, but all of us have had at least 10 years in professional baseball and in professional baseball in that capacity. So we're just here to try to help and do what we can and make sure that the next generation gets all the things that they can and all the necessary resources that they can to reach their dreams and their goals, especially to be a professional baseball player. Because right now, I think I've talked to a lot of people about it. A lot of the coaches that these kids are getting have never played Major League Baseball. And a lot of them have never played even minor league baseball. They've played at the college level. They're good with analytics. They're good with numbers. And the data's great, but there's still something about actually being able to do it at that high of a level. There's a reason why, the professionals are the professionals. There's a reason why in baseball, there's only been 24,000 players that have ever been Major League Baseball players that can fit in one stadium, because it takes not only just the analytics and the data, it takes a certain, IQ, it takes a certain wherewithal, it takes a certain, intelligence to make sure that you get to that level. And especially the guys that last more than 1 year, that you stay at that level and that you're able to do that. So I think that our program and what we're doing and the things that we're giving the next generation, it's indispensable and it's very useful. I think that's the main thing. I think it's definitely a useful service that is not a huge expense compared to the amount of money that kids and parents are, spending on their AAU and programs like that, especially in baseball, where parents are spending tens of thousands of dollars to get, coaching and development from guys who aren't at our high level. And we're doing it for, a fraction of that cost at the community, and to get the advice and be part of the community is $99 a month. So I think it's something that's affordable to be able to do and build out. And like I said, have like-minded people and have a community that ultimately, once it grows and expands, obviously globally, but having enough people where we can tell each kid that goes through it, like they have NIL deals or they're going from high school to college. Okay, well, if you don't really want to be at a professional level, but you want to get your development and go to this school, we can guide you in the right direction and give you the right coaches, even though all these coaches might be coming at you, knowing who the right ones are, because the support system in the community is so big and so adapt, that we have all the right connections and resources, not only through sports, but, the plumbers, the electricians, the lawns, everything, the groundskeepers, that we have all these people that are wanting to be more positive and happy and have everybody be a part of this community to grow it as much as we can.
Right. Jay, I know you're a man of faith, and one of the best expressions that I've ever heard: God will test you, the enemy will tempt you. You've been tested, and there's no way you could have come up with Smile Zone and writing 9 innings and living your best life without those tests. And you're now giving back, not just with Smile Zone and your book. You're now pitching coach for West Virginia Black Bears in the MLB Draft League. What does it mean to pour everything you've learned back into this next generation?
No, that was awesome. Yeah, that was last year. They've got a whole new team this year, and how that league's really crazy how it is. And it showed me a whole different side of coaching, because you get 2 different teams for each half. You get a different team. So the first half is just guys that are eligible to be drafted, but can also go back to school, but teams want to see them and get some extra exposure to them to see how they can compare against the top, talent, to see if they're going to take them in the draft. And then the second half is more of an independent baseball style, where guys that didn't get drafted and aren't able to go back to school come in and play. So you get 2 different types of styles of guys, and they're all the same type of, like, to a certain extent, is like they want to play baseball. They had the ability to be drafted, but just something, they were missing a little something. And a lot of times that is normally just a mental thing to get them to hone in on, maybe their discipline, or maybe focusing on their mechanics, or knowing more about themselves and having themselves calm down a lot of times. And I credit that my program, honestly, to how good the team did last year. We had one of the top 2 pitching staffs both halves of the year. So with 2 completely different teams, we still were able to manage to have, the same success. And I used the curriculum with the guys where we had a different mindset theme each week. I would go out there, if I had to talk to different pitchers on the mound visits sometimes, and I would tell them, like, hey, remember our mindset theme for the week, and normally it would work. So for me, pouring back into them, using the curriculum, using my expertise, and using my kind of feel that I have with baseball, it was amazing to see the success that we had, and seeing how, these guys developed, and how much fun ultimately that I had, and I hope that they enjoyed the game of baseball. And I think they did, ultimately, with, us winning the championship last year too. So I think they had enough fun. A few guys ended up retiring because they're like, well, why would I not retire on top, right? So we had some guys retire. Some guys, like I said, signed this year to go play independent ball, and some signed with affiliated teams as well. But I think being able to give back and use what, the curriculum is and who I am, it showed me that I'm doing the right thing, because, we had success. We had a lot of positivity. I've, gotten letters from the guys. I still talk to the guys, and they, say such wonderful high things about me, and I'm so appreciative of it. But it just gives, kind of a confirmation of what I am doing, and the kind of program that I am, kind of giving back to the kids, and kind of the program that I want to have the kids be a part of is, being thankful and grateful and having success ultimately. Because I know that a lot of teens and a lot of parents and a lot of coaches, those drives back home where you don't know what really to say, because, maybe there's too much pressure on your kid, because, you put too much pressure on them by screaming at them through the fence, or, the coach put too much pressure on them, and nobody knows that pressure, because nobody's ever truly been in it. Right. You've been in it to a certain degree, but as a pro, it was the All-Star game. A lot of the players were like, if you could tell some of these AAU coaches what to do, is calm down. You know what I mean? It's like, let those guys enjoy the game of baseball. And one of the main reasons that I created the Smile Zone is so people can have that foundation, not let the outside stuff take their joy and their happiness away from the game of baseball or from their life, so it can give them a better foundation, right? So
yeah,
it's just, just doing those things.
I love it. Yeah, there's just so much outside noise, and it's just great to just, enjoy the game and, just embrace the journey and the process. Where does Jay Jackson go from here? What's the next chapter look like?
Next chapter is making sure this app, I've put in a couple interviews and resumes to a few pitching coach jobs and head coaching jobs for high schools and college teams, just to throw my name in the hat, just to make sure, that I know that I'm trying to be as useful as possible to the next generation, because I know that what I'm doing and what I can give to the next generation, whether it be on the app or in a coaching position, is, very valuable. And I know that it's needed, and I know that I want to be able to do it, and I know that it's useful. So my next journey is going to be, making sure this app is in the right place, in the right people's hands, making a lot of connections. I'm working with the Canes AAU program down in Tampa right now with some of their guys. I'm also working with some guys in Utah as well with their facility, just trying to build out this community as much as I can. And then we're going to have our first 2 calls of this month at the end of the month, I think on July 28th. So we're going to have one for the parents and one for the kids as well, for everybody that's in the community. And we might even throw in some, free links for a lot of the people that want to join as well, if we have enough interest. So just staying busy with the app, trying to get more coaches, trying to make sure that the newsletter's getting sent out and that I'm providing as much value as I can to everybody as possible. So if anybody needs me, I'm always available. That's my main thing, is trying to be there when I can be for as many people as I can to, make sure this next generation, but also the people around me, are being as positive and I'm being as helpful and serviceable as possible.
I love it. Jay, we ask every single guest on Path to the Pros the same final question. 7 years in the minor leagues, 6 MLB organizations, Japan, the championship, a moment that could have ended everything, a son who was born premature, a comeback that defied every odd, and now a coach and author, a speaker, a father, a man who decided to start making intentional life efforts with every single chapter the road gave him. What do you want your name or legacy to stand for?
Smiles, just happiness for me. I wanted to be people that were around me honestly got better. And I believe that through what I've done so far in my career and the people that have been around me and the teams that I've been on, I think that the facts are there, but I'm hoping that the people that have been around me will say the same thing, that I've helped them be better people and I've helped them be happier people. I've brought them smiles, I brought them joy, and they've enjoyed their time with me. I hope that my legacy can be that. And I hope that JR can do the same thing. I know he will, because he's already brought me so much joy. But, I hope that my legacy is, being the person that I can be, which is a positive influence to other people, and just trying to be myself. Hopefully that is enough for everybody else. Like I said, trying to get his legacy is the Smile Zone, getting as many people on this thing for me, that the community is the legacy itself, that the coaches and the players and the parents and everyone that's associated with it is the legacy behind it, where everybody's happy and doing positive things and being productive. We have guys in the big leagues. We have guys that are successful lawyers. We have guys that are successful podcasters. We have guys that, are all just doing such successful things. And the parents are learning how to treat their kids to be the most successful and positive people they can be as well. And that they have that great support system overall, that the community itself and the legacy is that community of just positivity and support. So I think that's it. Smiles, happiness, and, positivity, right?
I love it. Team, that is Path to the Pros for this week. And as you can tell from Jay's story, there is no one path. There is no shortcut. You got to embrace the grind. Jay, thank you for being honest about every chapter in your life, especially the grind, the breakthrough, the hard moments, the comeback, all of it. You didn't just tell us your story tonight. You gave our audience permission to keep going through theirs. To everyone watching, share this. Tag an athlete, tag a parent, tag anyone who needs to hear tonight what Jay just shared with everyone. Go find Smile Zone and pick up 9 innings to living your best life. Links will be in the bio. We're back next week, 6 p.m. Mountain, live on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Until then, stay off the shortcuts, stay on the path, and remember why you started. This is Blueprint to Bluechip, and we build a human being underneath the athlete. We'll see you next week. Jay, Aaron, thank you so much for both of you taking time out to make this happen tonight.